What's going on, guys? Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Billy Anthony, driving in from New Jersey. We go into social media, how he goes out and builds relationships with realtors, and of course, what he loves about the business. And we also do a quick little intro to our new segment, which I think all of you guys will enjoy at the beginning of every episode. So I hope you guys enjoy. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. What's going on, guys? This is Eric Braun, your host of the Mortgage Pro podcast, for mortgage pros, by mortgage pros, to make better mortgage pros. And today we have a very special occasion because it's the first in-person interview of the Mortgage Pro podcast with my man, Billy Anthony.
Eric, thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. And that is a quick reminder for you guys listening on, iTunes and Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcast. Just so you know, you could also watch on YouTube if you ever, and vice versa. So another special occasion, I'm throwing in two, right? We're going to start a new segment at the beginning of every episode where I give the guest a few either topics or phrases, and they give me their first response in one or two words, the first things that come to mind.
Easy.
You ready?
Ready.
First one is New York.
I'm going with my New York Rangers, and I'm going with good old Spumoni Gardens in Brooklyn, right, baby.
And New Jersey.
New Jersey.
First thing that comes to mind.
I got to go with Seaside Heights, my club days.
All right. Interest rates?
Just a sad face.
And inventory?
Decent, lowish, but better, I'd say. Picking up.
203K loans.
Love them.
Okay.
203Ks are great.
Paid leads.
I think paid leads are good.
Okay.
I mean, we'll get into that, but yeah, I go with good for now.
Okay, good. All right. So there's just one or two, just to spice things up a little bit. We wanted to do a new segment at the beginning of every episode. But let's get into Mr. Billy here. So why don't you give a little background? How long you've been in the business? Where are you from originally? Just to get the guests to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been in the business for about 3 years now.
Okay.
Born and raised in Middletown, New Jersey, kind of close to the Jersey Shore.
Okay.
Made my way up to North Jersey about a year and a half ago. And yeah, you know how it is in the mortgage world. We're rocking and rolling and kicking it ever since.
So so you moved from one part of Jersey, what, Central?
You could say Central. Well, that's a debate. I'll let the viewers decide on that one, but we'll go with Central. I'm a big believer in it.
Okay, so Central to
North.
Okay. And how long you been in the business?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And when did that move occur?
About a year and a half in.
Okay, so year and a half in the business, you make this geographical change.
Yep.
What did that do did that change anything with your business about, who you did business with or how you operate?
Yeah, so I mean, for my business, when I first got started, I actually met one of my good friends, Anthony Romeo, over at Main Street Title. Shout out to you, Anthony. We connected on a Facebook group, and I guess long and the short, a lot of my realtors that I got connected with, who I had the pleasure of still working with today early on, a lot of them are from North Jersey.
Okay.
So initially, when I was driving up about an hour to go to meetings and just to get together, and even my clientele that were all buying up in North Jersey, I figured, all right, well, driving an hour each way, like 50 miles though,
right,
3-4 times a week, I'm like, that's a lot.
Right.
So I figured, let me just get myself right in the action, front and center, and let me just be in the scene.
And so 3 years ago, now what made you get in the mortgage, our beautiful industry to begin with? So you met somebody and what happened?
So pretty much, I was doing insurance, and it was mostly 9 to 5 behind the desk,
Okay,
which I couldn't really stand. I know it's not for everybody. And my aunt does commercial insurance, but she's on the side where she's taking people out, she's traveling, she's working kind of on her own schedule. And I was like, man, I just want to be in an environment like that. I love helping people. So I figured, what can I do to help people, but also have a flexibility that, like, a job I enjoy? I was thinking about getting into real estate, and I was like, let me take the jump. But then I was talking to my parents about it. My parents actually convinced me to get into mortgages.
okay.
They were like, you probably have a little bit, maybe control of your benefits, potentially like a salary or a draw. They didn't know what a draw was at the time,
Right.
but they were like, it's going to be a little easier for you to get your feet off the ground. And one of my neighbors, she was a processor for like 30 years. So she got me connected with, when I was still living back in Middletown, I had a branch manager, local mortgage company, Gateway. He was in the business for 20 plus years, just kind of him, his LOA, running the show. And then I basically hit him up with an email. I said, "Hey, I know Diane. I'm her neighbor. She said good things about you." And he was like, "Listen, I'll take you under my wing and I'll show you the ropes, and the rest is history."
So your parents, that's interesting. A lot of like, how did they know about the mortgage business?
Well, my parents, thankfully for them, they know what my pros and cons are, like what my
Gotcha.
strengths are.
Gotcha.
You know, so they know I'm good with people.
Gotcha.
I mean, I could walk into a room, I'll talk to the plants behind me, you know, which is cool. But they know that I love helping people as well. So I figured with real estate, you know, obviously that's that's one avenue. But for mortgages, I said, all right, this is cool. Like, even though I'm not helping them buy the home and show the home, like I'm still helping them obtain the home and
Right.
obtain the American dream, just on a different scale, a different level, right?
And you said you were at a previous company, so you made a switch like halfway through your career.
Yeah.
You're with your current company.
Yeah, I've actually made 2 switches. So my brokerage now is my third shop, which with the guys I met, I'm super thankful for. We got a really cool, close knit little community that we have,
I
and
remember
things are good.
first coming across your stuff. I think you were at Gateway.
That was my first shop.
So to give everybody some context, I met Billy through Instagram, of course, like I meet everybody. And
Likewise.
And I remember connecting with you early on. I remember you had like some goal to help somebody in every state.
50 families, 50 states.
Yeah. So tell the viewers a little bit about that.
Yeah. So like Eric said, a big thing that like I guess both him and I do is it's about like not only like the content that we make, but it's about how can we make a difference in this industry that we're in. So my goal is, at the time when I was with a bank that was licensed in all 50 states, I figured this is a pretty cool goal. Let me see if I can make some content, try to help out each family in each state. And I was kind of hoping that in time I would be able to connect with some awesome like realtors and clients organically, and you know, anyone that kind of has the same story of, well, how can I obtain the American dream, right? How can I buy my first home? How can I make this dream a reality? And I was like, I would love to be a part of that story.
Right. So 50 families, 50 states.
Yep.
And how are you going about, because that's, I mean, a pretty hefty goal, right? Like some people can't help 50 families in their own state. So how are you planning to go out and get somebody, let's say in Alaska? Like, was it, you know, through outreach on social media? Was it paid ads? Was it like, what were you doing to bring in that business?
Yeah, for me, it was all about just Instagram content.
Okay.
Keep it right at the basics. I mean, I would send out DMs. I would try to follow people in different states.
Okay.
Agents that were good at their community, and sending with the video. Like I figured if I go like one state I'd maybe at a time, my goal at the time was with each closing, I'd do a video on that family, that story, and that state.
Right.
So, but then eventually when push came to shove, it was like I had my goal. I think I ended up nailing down like, I think 7 or 8 states.
Okay.
And then at the time I had a decision to make with staying with my current mortgage company or making the move to the company I'm with now. We don't have all 50 states. So obviously at that point, it kind of changed my trajectory.
That's all right.
Towards the goal.
But what's interesting about that is like, although you didn't hit 50 families in 50 states, I remember associating you with that mission because you started to create content behind it. So I think it's a good example. Maybe it's not that, but it's a good example of like documenting the journey, right?
Always.
And that's the difference between like documenting when it comes to content and creating content.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 completely different things, right?
Exactly.
If you can figure out a way to make engaging content that's just you documenting your journey instead of coming up with ideas and sitting in front of a camera and scripting out videos, it does make content creation a little bit easier. So I'm a big fan. That's, you know, Gary Vee always talks about document.
Yep.
And it works, because I remember seeing this guy on Instagram with the goal of helping 50 families in 50 states, and you would post about it every so often, and you would tell stories about it, and you would make content around this whole journey.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. So tell me a little bit about what company you're at right now and how you got connected with them.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm at Aceland Mortgage right now. I'm on the mortgage broker side, and I got connected with my guys. I actually ended up going out to a dinner. Some of my realtor buddies invited me to, and you know how those dinners go. They were like, "All right, you're gonna meet some new friends, meet some new faces. Hopefully, you could try to maybe show them what you got, maybe get a deal out of it, make a couple of relationships, and see what happens. I was like, yeah, sure, I'm along for the ride. Like whatever happens, it happens. I ended up meeting a couple good realtors who I'm good friends with now, thankfully, and they were very loyal to one of my coworkers, my guy Massimo,
Okay.
and they said, hey, appreciate you coming out. It's good to connect. We work with him, but we think maybe you guys can get along. You guys look like you'd sync up really well together.
Right.
I said, sure, cool. I love that. That's awesome. I'd always like to meet good people in the business and
Right.
see what happens. So, at the time, I do a lot of my business with non-QM stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the bank statement loans, the DSCRs, the gist.
Right.
So I figured, okay, right now this is something that I'm kind of lacking in due to my rates.
Right.
So maybe let me see if there's another option out there that could be more feasible and maybe help my business. So I said, let me give it a shot. Ended up connecting with Massimo. We got together at his coffee shop in Hoboken, Pour More, and we were hanging out for probably like 5 hours. It was the coolest thing. We were like just having just awesome conversations about like life, our families. It's like a guy like almost like this, like you never really meet before, but we were just hitting it off like we've been friends for a decade.
Right.
And we ended up even going out at night, getting dinner, having a drink or two. And he was like, I really like enjoy being with you, like your company.
Right.
You seem like you're good at what you do. And we ended up just almost talking about a great future in the business together.
Right.
So when they made me the offer, I said, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I
Right.
feel like this is kind of where I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
And I fit in with these guys, and it's just,
What was your transition like going from direct lender national company to small mom and pop broker?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, I always thought of the core of it as no matter where my home base is for my company, my job is for the best ability to my clients, right? My clients, even like my realtors, so that way I can obviously help the families.
Right.
So for me, I said, okay, I have access to more programs. I've got some more products. My rates are where they need to be at the time. And the decision to me was pretty easy. It was strictly business based.
So let's set broker, banker aside. What about going from because is it more of like a mom and pop spot right now?
Definitely more mom and pop.
Okay.
So
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think going from more of like the corporate side to the mom and pop shop, it's a lot more relaxed. Like, I guess more things like for the LOs, you'll get this, like my operating system lending pad. I don't have to log into a VPN to get it.
Right.
I don't got to be at the work computer. I could do it on my iPad, on my computer. So that part of it is pretty cool.
Right.
Something as menial as that, because I could travel. I could do my work when I want, where I want. That's easy. The rest of it is it's pretty just simple. I don't know. It's like not the corporate had all these rules behind it, but the mom and pop, you almost feel like you're like the one man show.
Right.
Like I'm in control of my business to the extent. So it's like, all right, I got to get my files ready. I have a smaller team that's strong, that's behind my back. So any support you need, you've got the core front there, and the rest of it, you just kind of figure it out as you go.
And you mentioned non-QM stuff, so I wanna go back to that for a second, because that's like a space where I think it's blown up over the past few years.
Oh, for sure.
I think pricing, rates, and stuff like that are sometimes, in some cases, almost the same as a regular conventional loan.
Yeah.
Especially on investment properties and stuff like that.
Yep.
Why don't you talk a little bit about how you first started getting into that niche, and what are some pros and cons that come with it?
Yeah, for sure. So I got in the niche. Same thing. I mean, I'm sure when you start out in the business, you want to take and get any deal that you can.
Right.
So my friend Paul Kim, who's a realtor friend of mine, he had a lot of clients at the time where it was either maybe like a non-mortgageable condo or it was like a bank statement deal. And at Gateway, I couldn't do those. So I said, all right, if I'm maybe getting, let's say, as a young LO, new in the game, 2 to 3 opportunities a month, and maybe, thank God, 2 are from him, this guy that's taking a chance with me, and I can't entertain the the product, I'm like, well, that sucks.
Right.
Because now I have to try to get another avenue, which is not the easiest to come by. And then obviously, when I had access to those programs, I was able to get those opportunities and close them. And then I figured, all right, well, this is kind of a niche, because being able to navigate these programs and these products, it's a certain kind of clientele, but it's also a certain way to handle them and to navigate them. You got to know, obviously, like how to set the right expectations for the client with documents, with the underwrite, with just everything A to Z. So, and I've just, as I grew into that, I felt more comfortable doing it. And even in my years in the business now, I talk to some LOs I'm friends with, they've been doing this 15, 20 years. Some of them are like, I don't really touch it.
Right.
That's not their niche. They're cool with regular conventional FHA, and that's what they stick with. But even for me, they'll call me and they'll be like, "Hey, listen, I got a guy that's trying to figure this loan out. What should I do? Can I take
Right.
it this or this?" And I'll say, "All right, let's figure it out." And
Yeah.
then, run them through it.
I personally believe that like you should be a Swiss Army knife. Like
Yep.
as especially right now because of the amount of transactions shrinking, you should be able to you should be able to take and service. And I'm not talking about do stuff that you're not comfortable with doing.
Right.
I'm talking about being able to confidently execute on a multitude of different types of loans. And
Yep.
non-QM is one of those things that I think a lot of people overlooked for a long time. But when you're going from, 6 loans or 5 loans a month to now 2 loans a month,
Yep.
it's nice to pick up that extra loan
Yeah, of course.
because you are now diving into the non-QM space. So you see that happening. Me personally, like I tell people, although I believe bread and butter, you'll always make most of your living on the regular FHA conventional VA
Sure.
business. However, I tell people, I'm like, anything that has to do with money and real estate, call me. If I feel like it's not a good fit for what we have, I'm going to let you know. But I at least wanted, I made it a point to let everybody know
Yeah.
that I can handle everything. And I think
Smart.
a lot of loan officers should definitely do that right now.
I
Shoot an email to your database. Tell the realtors that you're working with, like I do non-QM or I do renovation loans or I do hard money
Yeah.
or I do commercial, right?
Right.
So because what's going to happen is somebody's going to let them know that they do it and
Yep.
they're going to think you don't do it. And you're going to miss out on that opportunity.
You hit the nail on the head. And I'll give a quick thing on this too. I was at an event, a networking event in person with a couple of my just people in the industry I know, and one of my friends, she was talking about getting a commercial lender, and for her BNI group, I do commercial lending as well.
Right.
So I'm talking with her and a couple of other people in her group, and they're talking to another lender and another lender trying to figure out commercial. She walks up to me and she goes, "Wait a minute, don't you do commercial?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "What the?" She's like, "Wait a minute, never mind, get over here." And then she's like, my bad." She goes, "Bro, I didn't realize, I totally forgot."
Right.
And then when I had to think about it, so then another good one of my friends too, who's an agent, said the same thing. "Oh," he's like, "I forgot you do commercial."
Right.
And for me, I said, okay, so obviously like people know I could do this, but what can I do on my end to make it more notable that I do these avenues like commercial, hard money? Because if they didn't realize, I might have had the chance to potentially lose a referral or two.
Correct. Yeah, and when it's a time that a referral or two makes or breaks you,
Yep.
it's especially important.
Yeah.
So I think what we've been doing as a division and a team, because we have about 49 people in our division.
That's great.
Some are ops, some are sales. Because all of our salespeople are coming to us with opportunities of second mortgages and 10-unit apartment buildings and like stuff that when rates are at 2% you're like, nah, we don't do that.
Right.
But we're spending a lot of time educating people in those different avenues.
Sure.
Because like I said, you have to be confident. This goes to the second part that I was talking about. You have to be confident in your ability to execute. You can't just be winging it because that's not fair to that client.
Yep.
So we're not doing anything, just to be clear, we're not doing anything or, advertising that we do something that we're not confident in pulling off.
Yeah.
It's just not our bread and butter.
Sure.
And I think, there's two mindsets to this. Like there's the people who, like me, like I'm more of like Swiss Army knife.
Yep.
Like I want to be able to do everything and do everything well, within reason. And then there's also people that are like, there's riches and niches. Like that's so I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. I just believe in this market, you should be taking advantage of every opportunity. But
no, and I agree with that 100%. I mean, like you said, as long as you could confidently do it within your own parameters or abilities and you can execute with the client's best interests forefront, do it.
And so you mentioned realtors a few times. You mentioned BNI Group. Obviously, most of our listeners and viewers are originators.
Yep.
I always like to ask, like, what's your main source of business? Is it realtors, paid ads, etc.?
I would say for me, thankfully, it's realtors,
Okay.
referrals, which I'm blessed for.
And how do you go about building relationships with those realtors?
I mean, I think the word relationship is how you said it best. One of my close friends, his name's Tom Lee. Him and I always talk about this, and we're always very based on like service and just adding value.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go out and I try to meet people and network, I never try to like put on a show or like say like flash the money, flash a dinner, flash a coffee, like everyone's getting that under the sun.
Right.
It's like, how can I give you value? Let me just drop some information.
Right.
Or if I see on Instagram someone needs help with something, let me shoot you a DM. Hey man, let me see how I can help.
Right.
Other LOs too. LOs, realtors, this and that. And then at this point, like 3 years into my game, I try to let now my work speak for itself. So I don't really necessarily want to go out there and try to put on the whole song and dance.
Right.
My thing is, I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm confident in myself for being in for 3 years. I think I do a pretty damn good job at what I do. Of course, given the fact that there's a lot of amazing people in our business, there's a lot of, like yourself, a lot of great people to learn from.
Thank you.
And same thing with the relationships. I just let the work kind of speak for itself.
I think a lot of a lot of originators shy away from building relationships with realtors because they don't want to beg for business.
Sure.
They don't want to do the buy you coffee song and dance. What would you say to those loan officers that are maybe not taking action, not going out there and building relationships with realtors because they don't want to do that?
I mean, I would say the best thing you could do is to take the action. And I say that in the sense of don't be afraid of what other people might say to you, or like if a realtor, like you go on one meeting, let's say with the realtor and it doesn't pan out, that's okay.
Right.
Or you go to send somebody like a message or whatever. Hey, I'd love to try to earn your business. It doesn't work out. That's okay. I mean, when I first got in the business, like I said, like it goes back to the content thing. I said, that's how I can give value.
Mm-hmm.
One of my best friends, his name is Tyler Sellers. I live with him now. We met on Instagram through a DM. I hit him up and I just said, hey, bro, I love your content. I said, I would love to just learn from you. He met me out in Hoboken. I remember we got lunch. Wicked Wolf, just like it was yesterday. He said, let me teach you to make your first reel. And I was stoked. I'm like, this is so awesome. Because like, I don't know how to do this crap. I said, like I know, but I'm like, I don't know how to do it well. And as he's figuring out his game, he's a couple steps ahead of me. He's like, let me help out this kid. And then when push came to shove, he was like, you know what, man, like I like you. You're cool. He's like, so we'll do business. He's like, I'd love to try to hook you up and we can make a relationship out of it. He's like, but you make one mistake and you're done. And to this day. And so thank God I made no mistakes. Yeah. So we're all good. But it just goes to show, you know.
That's sometimes I think a lot of people are getting in their own way.
100,000%.
I think a lot of people are getting in their own way. They know what they need to do, but they don't because of that second and third thought that enters their mind when they go to do it. So it's like, I know I need to create the content, but I know I need to reach out to realtors, but I know I need to call this client, and it gets worse. The longer you postpone it, you come up with more and more reasons that you can't do it. I heard this thing once where it was like an analogy about like a salesperson. Like, I need to, go and door knock, but before that, I need to get a haircut, right? I need to cold call, but before that, I need to get a headset.
Yeah.
I need to go have that important meeting, but I really need a good suit. And I think a lot of people are just postponing their success and postponing their actions on maybe things that are true. Like, you may need a haircut.
Sure.
Right? However, you're always going to need a haircut.
Right.
And the faster you realize to get over that stuff and just take action. I mean, there's no secrets. And even saying this right now, it's stuff that you've probably heard before if you're listening to this episode.
Yeah.
But maybe this is the last time that you need to hear it and you can take action from it. But you mentioned social media. So obviously we met through Instagram. You talked about how you met a few realtors from Instagram. If you can give me like a quick breakdown of your social media strategy right now.
Yeah. My strategy is just, how can I give value? That's it. No matter what I do, I'm always thinking like, okay, just what can I do to educate and inspire and help somebody? And that's pretty much it. And then
Are
when,
you shooting? Is it mainly for Instagram, or is there other platforms? What kind of content is it? Long form, short form? Are you give us a quick rundown?
yeah, I mean, so most of my content is on Instagram, and I love to make videos about just anything related to mortgage education.
Okay.
And that could be, again, it could be for future clients, realtors to look at, other LOs to look at, whatever it is. But I just figured, when I first got in this business, I had 1,000,001 questions, and I felt like I had no one to look to answer them. So with a lot of these programs that are out there and products and just everything in the business from A to Z, right? Because I mean, obviously, you and I being in the business, we understand how complex and how intricate things can get. And from the outside looking in, I'm assuming from a consumer's point of view, even realtor's point of view, attorneys, whoever it is, they might not understand.
Right.
So I figured my thing is, hey, how can I make it fun? How can I make it enjoyable? How can I maybe give an inkling of knowledge?
Right.
And if it helps somebody, then sweet, that's
Right.
cool.
And
And I just keep doing my thing.
so more education for all types of different people on all types of different
Yep,
topics, right?
just pretty much just information. Like, what can I do to hopefully educate and inspire somebody
And do you have
today?
any like fancy camera or
Nope,
fancy microphone
nope,
or nothing?
no, not really. I
Did you
mean,
guys hear that?
no, yeah. I mean,
All right.
and
So
I've had this conversation through so many different stages of like my content making career. Where I mean, at first I had just an iPhone that I would prop up like on my desk because I didn't
right,
have a tripod, and then I would have to like angle it with a book, and then like put a big light on like in the room so that way like my face would light,
right.
and that was it. And
Yeah,
then
I've
yeah,
definitely. So speaking of the, I need to get a haircut syndrome,
yeah,
right? I always felt that I need to get the best setup in order
yeah.
to create content.
No,
And finally, one day, I wanted to do this podcast for 5 years. I wanted to do a mortgage specific podcast for the mortgage industry, for mortgage pros. And I postponed it for so long because this I need a haircut syndrome. I need to get a mic. I need to understand everything about how to publish an episode. I need
sure.
to build an email list and after excuse
Yep.
after excuse. And here I am, maybe not 5 years, 3 years later, doing our 15th episode or whatever episode we're on right now.
Look at that.
But it took it. I got to the point where I started to value or weigh giving value to the mortgage industry more than looking good, sounding good, and understanding everything.
Right.
I started to shift what mattered more to me, and that's when I was able to take action. You mentioned bringing value. One of our core principles is we are value focused. So we are constantly focused on bringing more value, serving our team members, customers, and partners. That's throughout our whole organization. That bleeds through everything that we do, whether it's the processor on how they communicate with a client, whether it's how we build out systems because we want our clients to have the best experience, as well as the originator experience, as well as the partner experience. So and I think if you take that mindset and apply it to creating content, you're obviously going to be successful. So
Definitely.
it that I I realized a long time ago that I have to figure out who my target audience is, who do I want to talk to, what are their pain points, and let me understand them better than anybody. So that went from let me understand the consumer better than everybody, understand what they complain about, what they don't like about the mortgage process, and fix that. Then it went from consumers to referral partners or realtors. What do they not like about the process? What do they not like about originators? What do they not like? What are they lacking?
Right.
Let me give that to them. And now it's originators. Like what does an originator want? And how do we build a platform that gives them everything that we want? So it's just a mindset of like figuring out who you're talking to, figuring out what they're missing or what they want or what they don't like, and then executing on that. The best example that I can come up with is when COVID first popped off. New York was completely shut down. real estate was deemed as non-essential.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you weren't allowed to show houses.
Yeah.
So obviously every real estate professional was very scared. What the hell do we do if we can't show houses? We can't have open houses. We can't cold call because it's a state of emergency. We can't do anything really. And I took a step back and I said to myself, what do realtors need right now? Because that's my target audience. And I created a whole video series called Producer Plateau, where it was strategies on how to build your business from home. So again, identify your target audience, figure out their pain points, and address them.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that with consumers on social, whether it's 2-1 buy downs because you want to address the consumers, you know, pain point of interest rates, whether
Sure.
it's lack of inventory and you teach them how to get more accepted offers, that's the mindset that I adopted a while ago, and it served me very well. So why don't you speak to that a little bit about, maybe how you're coming up with content ideas? Um, is it through everyday conversations or?
Yeah, I would say it's a mix of a lot of things. I would say, I feel like with making content, the conception or things that tend to do well is like the clickbait, right? So, how to buy a house for free,
Right.
or how to get a rate of 3%. It ends up being an assumable mortgage. And my thing is, I've always wanted the consumers to never like necessarily like fall for a trap, but I've always wanted to say, okay, what can I teach whoever my viewers are? What can I teach and educate them on, and do it in a way that's not only realistic, but I guess realistic is a good word for it. So that way they're set up for success. So when I do my content stuff, I like to do it on, let's say like down payment assistance, DPA. I'll make a video and I'll say, hey, by the way, if you take a DPA out, you might have a higher rate. I'm flat open with that. You might have a higher rate compared to regular FHA. There's your pro and your con.
Right.
But if you need to have that money and you can't get a seller's concession, you find it difficult with your market, then this is a good route for you.
Right.
If you feel like with your realtor partner, you can get a seller's concession, I said, take the FHA.
Right.
If you got half the money ready to go. So I try to keep it honest and open like that, and really give like all sides of the coin. Because again, when I go back to it, I think, hey, like the knowledge is the power. Here, I'll flip the script. I'll give you one. So obviously me being on this podcast, which I'm super grateful for. I mean, like you said, one of the reasons how we got connected was Instagram. And when I was first looking up, mortgage content and this idea of creating just this everything, you were probably the first person I saw that made content. And I was like, wow, this is the only guy that's doing this. So let me ask you, we'll flip the script. What made you want to get into creating content, and what kind of gave you the thought to, because I'm pretty sure you're one of the originals.
I appreciate that. I don't think I pioneered
listen, well,
creating content. However, I appreciate the compliment. I think it's very simple. It goes back to what I was talking about before. Like, if I want to help people, I have to show up where they are.
Yep.
And where is everybody currently? And for the past
on that iPhone, yep.
On social media, on whatever platform. And yeah, my strategy has changed and the platforms change and new things come out and whatever, but it's all the same thing. Gary Vee talks about, day trading attention. That's if my job is to have people know, like, and trust me, I need to show up in places to communicate my message and allow them to have the opportunity to know, like, and trust me.
Yeah.
So it's having conversations or being able to communicate with people at scale. And that's what attracted me to this whole endeavor of creating social media content, which is never ending. It's never figured out. It's not easy. But I appreciate the compliment.
It's a journey. I mean, listen, man, you obviously you came a long way, and clearly you're 8-9 years in the business. So I mean, it definitely goes to show what like the longevity and just the hard work, right?
Yeah.
It's never an immediate overnight success like LOs, realtors, attorneys, whatever you're doing. Right. It's going to take some time to build your brand, find your niche. You're going to get kicked down a couple times, probably more than you'd like.
Right.
But I think the people that are obviously kind of at the top of their game and that keep going is like they stay cool, calm under pressure, understand like, okay, I got to learn as I go, and you just keep going.
Yeah, I think one more question to finish up the episode, and this is something that I like to ask everybody that I meet in this business. What do you love about the mortgage business?
Honestly, I love the clients. I love the people. I love everything about the business. Truthfully, that's so cliche, but I love being able to deal with people, like have conversations with my clients who, people that never thought they could buy homes,
Mm.
like in their wildest dreams. And then when they're at the closing table, they're like tears in their eyes.
Right.
Like they're like actually they're crying. They're fully like, this is like one of the best days of my life. And obviously, I think for like us on the loan side, it's funny. It's like, realtors, they'll show the house, they help the client, like, have the relationship with the home that they buy. They give them the key. We give them paperwork.
Right. Right. You
And
give them the
potential,
paperwork and a monthly payment.
yeah, paperwork, a payment and stress. But regardless of, like, obviously that's our job. We make it happen.
Right.
We're like the focal point of them getting there.
Right.
So I think when clients get there and they realize, like, wow, like I did all this stuff, I never thought I could accomplish this. To me, I'm like, that's awesome.
Right.
Like the memories that they're going to build in this home and all the adventures they're going to have and whatever life takes them, like they're here, and they couldn't have been there without people like me, people in the business. And it just is like, damn, you step back and you think about it, and it's like, wow, like what an honor. How cool is that to be able to be just again a part of that journey and to watch them succeed? And it's awesome, man. Super cool.
That's I think that's a great place to end. I think thank you for reminding me of the role that we play in
Absolutely.
families' lives, and thank you. And I'm sure the viewers and listeners thank you as well. So I appreciate your time, Billy.
Of course,
It was a pleasure.
Eric, brother,
We'll have
always
you
a
on
pleasure,
again.
man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.